All right, guys, I hope everybody had a happy New Year and a Merry Christmas. I spent most of mine at work, so I enjoyed the time off of work while I had it. Today, I wanted to touch base with you guys on Carelink and kind of go over what Carelink has to offer, how uploads and things work with the 770G, and then the different types of reports and stuff that Carelink can benefit us with. So, to get to Carelink, you Google search carelink.minimed.com or enter that straight into your browser. Once you do that, you should get the login page. They've updated Carelink within the past few months to make it a little bit more modern. So on this page, you will select your country or region in your preferred language and then click continue. And then you're brought to the actual login page where you enter your username and password and then select login. Once you've done that, you're automatically taken to the home page. So this shows you your recent activities, where if you're on the 770G, you'll see that about every day, it kind of depends. Looks like my 770G is uploading mostly around 2:30 in the morning. So it's constantly updating my data. Now, since it's doing that, my endo will be able to log on every day if she wanted and review my data if she needed to. If you don't have a 770G, you have the Upload Now button in blue on the right-hand side. You can select that and install the Upload installer onto your PC or your Mac computer. And then once you've done that, you can either connect the Contour Next Link meter to the computer to sync your device, or if you have a 770G with an unsupported smartphone, you'll use what Medtronic calls the Blue adapter, which is a USB-sized Bluetooth connection device that'll connect your pump to the computer. It is also recommended to bring your Blue adapter with you to your endocrinologist appointment, just in case they don't have one and they can sync your 770G. So going down the left-hand side, the next section is reports. This is where you can customize and look at your different reports. We'll come back to those here in a minute. Next one down is connect. So if you are running the 770G or the just the Medtronic CGM that uploads to your smartphone, it is constantly sending data to the cloud, and this is that data. So you can see what your current blood sugar is, as well as the date, time. If somebody's reviewing your data on here, they can click your meal boluses and click your meal programs, and then see what your bolus was and kind of get an idea of what your graph is. This is available on other smartphones. If somebody wants to log into your Carelink, they can see that there, or a tablet device, like an iPad. So hopping over to the top right-hand corner is your profile settings. So if you click your name, you can customize your profile, look at the different consent agreements for using Carelink, and your data sharing. So my data sharing is set up for 2 care partners as well as my endocrinologist clinic. So that way they can view my data whenever they need. And then you have some preferences. The little question mark kind of talks about how to use the installer. Medtronic's privacy statement, terms used, recently asked facts and questions, supported browsers, and contact Medtronic. You can see that I did click the preference tab under my user preferences on the previous tab, and it's loaded in the back, and that's for you to program some information about your carbs and your glucose targets and things like that you want Carelink to display. Now, that does not translate over to the Minimed Connect app. If you wanted to change your red and yellow lines on the Minimed Connect app, then you would change them on your pump. As soon as you make a change to like your low setting on your pump, let's say you want that low setting to be 80, you can change it on the pump and click save, and then watch it on your app. And as your pump saves it, it will reflect that on the app. The green shaded area for time and range is set in the app permanently, and as of now, the users cannot change it. But you can change your low and high thresholds and those 2 lines, the yellow one for the low and the red one for the high, or if they're the yellow one for the high and the red one for the low will move on your graph if you wanted that. And then finally, the next one over is your select language for any reason. If you have a bilingual family and your care partner wanted to look at it and they need a different language that Medtronic offers, you can quickly select that after you've logged in. So now we're going to jump over to reports. So up at the top, you can select you want a 7-day, 14-day, or a 30-day report. And then under the little green bars, you can see, I'll move a mouse over it, the 30-day option and a 90-day option. You can do that. I'm not 100% sure what these green bars mean. Maybe that means that there's data for those days from the pump, sensor, and the meters. I haven't quite figured that out too much. So next, you can compare. So the first report on the top left is the assessment in progress. And on this report, you can compare data from whichever time frame you've selected and a different time frame. So typically I like to compare the week that I've just used, the past 7 days, and then compare to 2 or 3 weeks ago. If I wanted to look back a little further, maybe a month or 12 months, you can also do that to see how your progress has changed in the past versus now. And that little compare option will pop up when you click the blue compare period down here on the report. So back here, the assessment in progress report. This is that choose compare period button. As you can see, it's not selected at the moment. And then over here on the right hand side is a daily report. You can just choose the number of days that you'd like or which days in general and look at the data for those. Down at the next, you have a weekly review report. You have your dashboard. You can virtually look at your trends, the meal bolus wizard, adherence, sensor and meter overview, a logbook, device snapshots, and an episode summary. And we're going to dive into all these reports next. So this is the assessment and progress report. This is one of my favorite reports. I have been using this report a lot, especially when I switched over into auto mode to kind of see areas where I can improve with my pump. And so as you can see right here, my time in range is, I have to look over my camera, see it at 87%, with 10% of that high and 3% of that extremely high. So you can see option A is in blue, and this is the A's time in range. The next slide, I will compare an earlier period, and you'll get to see both options A and options B. So on the statistics side, I like to look at the percentage of time that I'm in auto mode. That's typically not 100% because we do have to charge our sensors. So I'm typically kicked out for a few hours to do my sensor changes every week. My time in manual mode, and then my sensor wear per week. My time in manual mode this week was a little high, most likely because I probably took my sensor off right before bed and then slept before starting a new sensor without it. You can see what your average sugar is, plus or minus a deviation. So what this means is my average blood glucose is 149 plus or minus 45, which means that's the range that my sugars are typically at. So for the high limit on that would be 194, and then the low limit would be 100 and, sorry, I'm doing mental math. 104, sorry. So it kind of paints you a window for what your blood glucose typically are. The GMI number, I never have paid attention to that. Notice that that's there, but that's kind of an estimated A1C. And I know that that number is pretty accurate because my A1C, when I had it tested about a month and a half ago, was a 6.9 and a 6.9 before that. And that's so far what I've seen on my reports. The coefficient variation, I don't look at that one too much. Low and sugar high alerts per day kind of gives you a breakdown of those. Your average, it's just average sensor glucose. My apologies. This is your average blood glucose. This goes off your meters and then your calibrations from your meter Sorry, I got that backwards. I also like to look at the daily dose of insulin. So, surprisingly or not, when I first started my 670G, my daily dose of insulin was probably around 200, and it went up towards 300. And I was constantly using almost 300 units of insulin a day. I would go a little bit over a day. My main goal within the past year is to kind of work on getting better control. My A1C came down below 7, which is what my doctor's office wanted, and we're really excited for that. I'm hoping within the next year I can get it down a little lower, 6.5. Fingers crossed that trend keeps happening. So you can see here my average daily insulin usage now is 181 units. I have some weeks when I'm cut back a lot on my eating. I can get that down to 140 units a day on average. So you can kind of see your bolus amounts per day and your auto basal are kind of at 50%. I'm not sure what Medtronic prefers, but I feel that 50-50 is normal. And you can see that I'm changing my set almost every 2 days and then changing my reservoir about every 1.4 days. So it kind of depends if I change my set and I go through all the insulin, I might not change it again. That's just me. That's a bad habit. Don't do that. So meals per day, you can see that I'm entering in carbs 5.5 times. And that's typically because I do a dual or a triple wave bolus for my meals, just to kind of give me a good wave of insulin. So what that means is I typically pre-bolus I prefer an hour to 45 minutes before I eat, to give the insulin time to get in my system and start to working. To where I'm eating, my sugar is typically hopefully below 100. And then when I start eating, I start the second wave. And then after I finished eating, plus or minus about 20 or 30 minutes, I will try to do the third wave. And that typically helps knock out high carb, high fat meals like pizza and stuff that's not necessarily good for us diabetics, but we enjoy it. That helps knock down the spike of the insulin of the carbs and keeps me going, trying to stay in range. Sorry, I'm getting an alert. Oh, my pump's telling me alert before high. All right, and then your active insulin time. So I kind of tweak mine depending on my level of activity. This week it's at 2 hours and 15 minutes. I just bumped it up to 2 hours and 30 minutes. Just because I was noticing that after I would run out of active insulin, I would still continue to drop for a little bit. So that's kind of an experiment with me. We'll touch on that difference with another video on auto mode. So here is that comparison period. So as you can see at the top, date range A is from December 25th through December 31st, and then date range B is from December the 11th through December the 17th. So date range B is probably about a week after I started with the 770G. As you can see, my data is pretty close, which that's impressive for the 770G, because the 670G, my data was nowhere near this close at the beginning. You could notice drastic changes as the 670G learned me and my insulin needs, whereas in here I feel the 770G has learned that a lot quicker. But it goes through all of the same data. For those that are curious that are currently on a 670G, you can see my high sugar auto mode exits aren't that many. I have had 2 alerts there, and then auto mode was also disabled by the user 2 times. So this pump definitely is not giving me that max delivery. Oh, the auto mode max and minimum delivery. I'm not getting those alarms hardly ever. Maybe once a week. Whereas on my 670G, if my sugar was around 200 and I accidentally went to bed at night without fixing it, I would wake up multiple times. So on to the next one, the weekly review. I also like to look at these reports to kind of get an overview of how auto mode is handling. So you can see what your sensor glucose readings were, as well as my finger sticks. So with the 770G, I've been pretty close. I've been very impressed with the difference between my actual sensor readings and my actual glucose readings. I like to look at this report to kind of see on an average, how close those are. And then down under the bottom is your auto mode. So these little pink lines are your insulin deliveries from auto mode. So you can kind of see how that works. Oh, sorry, I touched the mouse the wrong way. And then you can see your bolus is here. And see this little wave? It's kind of hard to see. But these little peaks and waves in purple are your insulin and how long the pump thinks that insulin is working. So in some of these cases, you can see it's not delivering much insulin on auto mode at first. So I typically, I've set up my carb ratio to be a little bit more aggressive than what I would normally use. So that way I get a little extra insulin for that time after I bolus. That way my body is still getting the insulin that I kind of should be getting if I were in manual mode that auto mode's not giving me, to be on the safe side. So you can kind of see that data there. Now this is the logbook. This question was brought up to me by another 770G user who was who was fixing to see their endocrinologist. Most endocrinologists, mine included, use this report. They'll look at it to kind of see what your sugars are. However, I have noticed an issue, or this user noticed an issue, and I've brought it up to Medtronic to try to see if we can get this resolved. If we hop back to the previous, you can see all of my meter readings, right? And some of these are calibrations and some of them aren't. If you hop over to this next report, those meter readings from the new AccuCheck guide meter, if they've been if they were automatically synced to the pump, whether the meter did it without user interface after 2 minutes or the user pressed the back button, those meter readings aren't displayed. The meter readings that you are seeing here are corrections that I manually entered on the pump without the meter, meaning that I see that my sensor glucose is 267. I want to have the pump do a correction. I enter in 267 and then take the correction that auto mode recommends. Not this is a 267 finger prick reading. So I have brought that up with the Medtronic ladies that oversee us ambassadors. Hopefully we can get this resolved in Carelink rather quickly. So just to give you a heads up for that, if your endo wants to know what your finger pricks are, it might be best to have them look at the weekly review for at least the past couple weeks just to see how you're doing, because all of that data is there the way that it's supposed to be. So the next one is the adherence. These are this report is very beneficial if you want to see your bolus events with food for corrections, overridden the number of times you rewound your pump, you filled your cannula. I don't look at this report too much, but it's good information for the users to have. Next is a report that anytime you make an adjustment on your pump, please save a copy of this. This is your device settings. It's typically 2 pages. So this would be page 1. Lets me know that I am in auto mode. My high alerts, what they're set at. My low alerts, what they're set at. If I had a bunch of basils programmed for manual mode, they would all be displayed here and what they are. This is really good if you have all of those and you want to make a minor adjustment in manual mode. Print this out so that way you can look at it. My endo, if she makes a pump correction, or a pump change, she prints this out, marks out with a pen what she changed and what she changed it to. So that way me as the user, I know and I have that physical copy. The second page on that, it does have my basals. So basal 1 is what I typically use. It gives me my units, my active insulin time, just some of those pump settings. I work shift work. So I work 5 days on, 5 days off, and I work days and I work nights. So I don't get the benefit of setting up my pump to where I constantly know when I'm going to have breakfast, dinner, and lunch and snacks, because my breakfast might be at 6 o'clock in the morning or it might be at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. So I don't have all of that information set up. I rely heavily on auto mode, and that is the greatest benefit for me because my shifts is constantly changing. Auto mode knows what my body needs and it gives it to me when I need it. So this is the second page of device settings too. And then Meal Bolus Wizard is the last one. So like I said, I work shift work. I don't look at this too much because I'm not having set breakfast, lunch, and dinners. because I'm not on a set schedule. I could be, working days or nights, so then all of this would change, and then the data wouldn't be accurate the way that I would need it to. But if you do eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner and your snacks and stuff around the same time every day, this information is very beneficial for you. You can kind of see how your your sugar readings are working, how much carbs you're eating, your carb ratios. All of that information can be displayed. So that is the end of my little Carelink breakdown. Please, you guys, if you have questions, send me a comment. I do have a Facebook page, Just the Diabetic, if you want to kind of like that and follow me. I'm trying to share screenshots of my Minimed Connect app and kind of interesting things. I haven't gotten that up and going as much as I would like to yet. So, yeah, I mean, you guys like and subscribe this YouTube channel and these videos, so that way you stay up to date with current videos. And if you want to see something unique or ask me a direct question, shoot me a comment. I try my best to respond within a day. I have done that so far with everybody who's shot me a comment, and I really enjoy thinking about you guys and y'all's unique situations and how to better answer those. So I hope you like this video. Again, please subscribe to the channel so that way you stay informed when I do videos, and I will see you guys soon. All right, bye.